All right, I've got 7 o'clock, so we are going to begin our meeting tonight. If you'd all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome. It's great to see a lot of student faces here tonight. This evening, the Board of Education is recognizing an outstanding group of Parkway students and also some schools. We are honoring National Merit Commended and semifinalist students, St. Louis County Outstanding Leadership, and Perfect ACT. So first, I would like to invite Dr. Kevin Beckner, Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, to begin the recognition of our National Merit students.
Well, good evening, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Marty and Mrs. Stover. This year, 46 Parkway students have been recognized by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation, an independent, not-for-profit organization that conducts competitions for recognition in college undergraduate scholarships through two programs, the National Merit Scholarship Program and the National Achievement Scholarship Program. The National Merit Scholarship Program is an annual academic competition which identifies seniors who represent the top of their graduating class. Commended students placed among the top 50,000 students who entered the competition by taking the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. More than 1.3 million U.S. juniors in over 21,000 high schools entered this competition by taking the SAT and National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, which serves as the initial screener. About 16,000 of those students, representing less than 1% of U.S. high school seniors, qualified as National Merit semifinalists. 20 Parkway students earned the National Merit semifinalist status, and an additional 15 are recognized as commended. National Merit semifinalists have an opportunity to qualify for nearly 6,800 merit scholarship awards worth nearly $26 million. That will be offered next spring. Some students were unable to join us this evening for this recognition, but we will still announce their names. First, please welcome Dr. Tim McCarthy, principal at Central High, to recognize his students.
Thank you, Dr. Beckner. Good evening to all members of the board, Dr. Marty, Ms. Stover. On behalf of all of my colleagues, thank you so much for taking time to recognize this wonderful group of students tonight, including all of our National Merit students. It's my privilege to recognize 16 Central High students, 8 semifinalists, and 8 commended students. Students, as each of the building administrators calls your name, feel free to stand up. Start with Dr. Marty, go down for the row of handshakes, and then for each school, we'll take a group photo, or at least I'm going to take a group photo with the Central High kids, and we'll do that over there, all right? First up, we'll start with our National Merit finalists, and to the audience, please join me in a round of applause for each student. They certainly deserve that. Again, some of the students aren't here this evening, but we'll applaud their accomplishment nonetheless. First up is Anant Bhagat. Tejas Dayal. Minwoo Kang. Asher Ko. Jamul Lee. Grace Lee. Hannah Matthew. Zidan Riza. And Central High's 8 commended students. First up, Charlotte Elsenson. Amir Esmili. Leo Flynn. Claire Johnston. Sarah Jones. Grant Claysing. Ava O'Brien. And finally, Mira Reganchari. And now Dr. Rhonda Page to introduce the North High students.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to recognize some truly amazing students. So from North High, our commended students are Elizabeth Feeney and Wesley James. North High semifinalists are Bhavya Argaval, Eric Lipsitz, Samuel Lipsitz, and if there is any doubt, yes, they are brothers, and Ray Rao. Now please welcome Kevin Beckner, Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, to recognize our students from South High.
Thank you. Dr. Pappas Moiko was planning to be here this evening, but has a sick child, so wasn't able to attend. So I'll be reading the names for South High, beginning at the top. Please congratulate Evan Ewing. Grace Fu. Amina Manzukik. Ramya Panamacha. Anna Kate Rawat. And Adam Zhang. South High semifinalists include Jaden Cho, Elizabeth Evans, Cole Han, and Marco Nee. Please welcome Dr. Mario Papillo, Assistant Principal at West High, to congratulate the West High students.
Hi, and welcome and good evening. In addition to the recognition that all the students from all of our schools are receiving tonight, I want to take just a second to recognize another group. I think as we all know, none of this happened overnight, and all of the parents and guardians that supported these students over their journey from literally their first steps through their elementary, middle school, high school journey, and all of the things that went into supporting their learning along the way, just expressing our gratitude. And students help me give them a round of applause just to thank them for that. To recognize West High's commended students, Risa Sidoni, Omar Alolabi, Gavin Hughes, Tyler Hughes, Anna Lowry, Anu Pidikiti, and West High's semifinalists, William Gancior, Felicity Jackson, Sachi Kandula, Stephen McAllister, Pratik Namali, Christopher Reed, Seswat Tripathi, and Mino Wang. Thank you.
You. Next, please welcome Elisa Tomich, Chief Communication Officer, to introduce the St. Louis County Outstanding Leaders.
Thank you and good evening. Four Parkway students were recognized as part of the St. Louis County Outstanding Student Leadership Program. The Outstanding Student Leader Award, since 1976, annually recognizes one senior student from each St. Louis County high school who performs vital services to their school and community, such as volunteering, fundraising, leadership ability at school, and participating in various clubs, teams, and/or projects. Nominated seniors attended a one-day leadership event at Washington University, culminating with a recognition ceremony at the St. Louis Government Center. St. Louis County officials honored them, including County Executive Dr. Sam Page and County Council members. Students, please come forward as your name is called. Leo Brown, Central High. Elizabeth Feeney, North High. Grace Fu, South High. Emahika Gudapati, West High.
Next, please welcome Kevin Beckner back to the podium to share with us some ACT scores.
That's right. The ACT is a curriculum-based achievement exam that measures what students have learned in school. It consists of tests in English, mathematics, reading, and science, each on a scale from 1 to 36. A student's composite score is the average of the 4 tests, and students who earn a composite score of 36 have likely mastered all of the skills and knowledge they will need to succeed in first-year college courses in the core subject areas. ACT scores are accepted by all major four-year colleges and universities across the U.S. and nationally. While the number of students earning the top score varies from year to year, on average, fewer than 1% of students who take the ACT will earn a top score of 36. In the U.S. high school graduating class of 2022, only about 3,300 out of 1.3 million students who took the ACT earned a composite score at that level. A Parkway student recently achieved a score of 36, the highest possible score, and they took the ACT in April. At this time, we would like to recognize and congratulate South High student Sophia Krujalis for her perfect score. Sophia, please come forward.
Well, we certainly have some amazing students, don't we? Parents, thank you so much for being here, and Parkway staff members who are here to recognize your students, thank you again. Students, you have a lot to be proud of, and keep up the great work. We're going to take a quick recess, and we'll resume the meeting shortly. Who are we waiting on? Here's Rob. I thought you left with everybody else there, Rob. I thought you left with everybody else. All right. All right, shall we continue our meeting? All right, I need to apologize. I forgot to ask Nikki to call roll, so that we're all accounted for. So Nikki, would you please call roll?
Mrs. Hopper.
Here.
Ms. Matt Franklin.
Here.
Mr. Reedy.
Here.
Mr. Schindler.
Here.
Mr. Seltzer.
Oh, here.
Mr. Spector. Mr. Todd.
I am here. Mr. Spector sends his regrets. He had to travel for work. Next, may I have a motion to call for may I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education call for a closed session on November 13th, 2024, following the regular meeting at Parkway Welcome Center for the purpose of considering, number one, hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of particular employees by the district when personal information about the employee is discussed or recorded, 610.021.3. Two, preparation, including any discussion or work product on behalf of a public governmental body or its representatives for negotiations with employee groups, 610.021.9. Three, individually identifiable personnel records, performance ratings, or records pertaining to employees or applicants for employment, 610.021.13. And four, records that identify and would allow unauthorized access to or unlawful disruption of the configuration of components or the operation of a computer system, computer network of the district if released, 610.021.20.
So moved. Second.
Please call roll for that.
Mrs. Hopper.
Yes.
Ms. Matt Franklin.
Yes.
Mr. Reedy.
Yes.
Mr. Schindler.
Yes.
Mr. Seltzer.
Yes.
Mr. Todd.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Let's see, we have, bear with me here. We had our special recognitions, so that is taken care of. Next up, we have additions, corrections, and/or modifications to the agenda. Those include 7.01, addendum of agenda item 11.10, approval of personnel items. 7.02, addition of contract to 11.33, approval of renewal of interview stream 1 year. 7.03, addition of final bond sale document to agenda item 11.15, approval of resolution for sale and issuance of general obligation refunding bonds for Series 2015B, 2015B. Next up, I have a statement that I would like to share just before we get to public comments regarding the Early Childhood Center proposed construction. In November 2022, Parkway voters overwhelmingly approved Prop S, which included plans to build an early childhood center in the 63021 area. Since then, our Parkway facilities team explored suitable sites for the center. 2 sites on Wren in Manchester were identified as preferred options. In the past year, neighbors near Wren Avenue voiced a number of concerns to the Board of Education, with traffic being a primary issue. Our traffic study validated that concern. At the same time, we heard from staff and families that Parkway needs additional early childhood space to better serve all students, which we've heard for years. The board directed Parkway administration to explore other site alternatives in the spring, as well as enrollment projections and other program information. Challenges with other Parkway-owned properties and a lack of available land led us to conclude there is no clear alternative. As a result, we cannot move forward with construction as originally planned. That said, our commitment to finding short and long-term solutions to support our early childhood students and families remains strong. Here is how we plan to address the need for additional space as identified by our community. In the short term, we have formed a South Area Early Childhood Work Group to identify immediate ways to support our early learners and families in the South area. Looking into the future, our Facilities 2050 planning process will guide the long-term strategy for early childhood expansion. This effort, announced last spring, will develop short-term and long-term solutions for our aging buildings. I want to assure the Parkway community that bond funds that were approved in 2022 for a new center will be directed towards our commitment to early childhood education when a solution is identified. We value early childhood education and the voices of everyone who has shared how a new early childhood center would impact them. We know early childhood education is a priority for many, and we share your dedication to ensuring all Parkway students have access to high-quality early learning opportunities now and in the future. Thank you for your continued support and understanding as we work toward a solution that reflects the needs of both students and the community. We will provide updates as the work group develops its immediate solutions on the ECC page and the Parkway website, and long-term strategies on the new Facilities 2050 website. Now, we'll get to public comments. It's during this time that we provide an opportunity to each meeting for citizen comments in an effort to maintain an open and respectful dialogue with our community. The public comment session is not the appropriate forum for addressing individually identifiable student and/or personnel matters. Therefore, due to privacy laws protecting students and employees, comments about these matters should not include personally identifiable information about particular students or employees. Members of the public, staff, and students are encouraged to utilize established policies and procedures for offering suggestions or addressing concerns and complaints prior to bringing the issue before the board. Please be mindful that the meetings of the board, including your statements at the podium, are broadcast and that you are responsible for any public comments you make. In lieu of a public statement, you may choose to submit your comments to the board in writing. Also, due to time constraints and the need to complete the primary responsibilities of our meeting agenda, we cannot respond during the meeting, so you will receive a response from us in writing. We are always available to have an open dialogue outside of our meetings and can be reached by email or phone using the contact information on the Parkway website. Tonight, I believe we have about a dozen or so people who have signed up to speak. I've got one cancellation, which I've already noted. If you decide that you don't wish to speak, just simply let us know when your name comes up. I'll call on speakers in order in which they've signed up. And before the person speaks, just ask that you again, introduce yourself and your relationship with Parkway. And then, of course, in fairness to our speakers and keep our meeting running as efficiently as possible, I will ask the audience to refrain from applause in between each speaker. So first up, I have Liz Williams, who will be followed by Melissa Copeland and Kendall Mayo.
Hello, I have a son. He's a 7th grader at Parkway Central Middle School. And I was told by the head of the school and security at PCMS that I could present my safety concerns at the board meeting after contacting them by email and phone. My concerns come from looking online for a bulletproof shield backpack insert for my son due to school shootings and unchanged gun laws over the years. This made me question security protocols at PCMS. I was told to read the Parkway website, which I did. I asked what measures there were if an intruder came into the classroom. My son said that he was told to throw chairs and other items in the classroom to fend off the intruder. I asked him what he thought about that, and he said kids think it's a joke. It should not be up to the kids to ward off an intruder. I asked the principal if there were bulletproof shields or enclosures in classrooms. She said her desk, which may not be bulletproof. I asked about if teachers could secure pepper spray locked up in the room for intruder situations. Security said no, because it's a weapon and a security license was needed, like he had. I asked what teachers needed to do to have that license. He said they need to take classes. I asked the board members consider this training for the teachers to keep pepper spray locked up in the rooms for any type of intruder situation. I was told intruders coming into the classroom were slim. I then said, I've been to the school various times without being detained or questioned. There was nothing about cameras or tip lines that could have stopped that. I bring in snacks for staff appreciation. People hold doors open for me. There is no security there questioning who I am, asking for my license, or asking what I'm doing there. I visited in the mornings when the buses arrive. The door is unlocked and no officers are monitoring people come in. The security told me, you should definitely bring this up to the board. I responded, but you are the head of security. And very different protocols at Shenandoah Valley Elementary. They were wonderful. They had teachers, they had volunteers spread all throughout the school, checking in people coming in the doors. When school started, you had to be buzzed in. You had to speak into a speaker. They had walkie-talkies, numbers in cars, making sure the kids going in were with the right parents. So my question is, I was told that there were laws on what you can and cannot do. So how come two schools in the same district have two vastly different security measures? So everything comes down to money and budget. So I will ask you, what is my son's life worth? I am happy to be a part of any committee that needs any kind of fundraising or further discussion regarding my son's life, other students' lives, and the lives of staff regarding PCMS and other schools.
Thank you. Next up is Melissa Copeland.
Good evening, board members. I am here tonight to talk about Wren Avenue. I'm here to speak about the traffic. We have been observing buses passing in oncoming traffic across the double yellow lines, which is a non-passing zone. Buses sitting and blocking intersections. Buses running red lights, and there is documentation of this. We've witnessed vehicles traveling up to 45 miles an hour. We have many students walking and riding bikes in close quarter with buses. These things happen all the time. We created a short video of what I've just talked about. It has been sent to all of you board members. It's just such a small amount of the documentation that neighbors and people in our community that their children go to Southwest Middle and Wren Hollow have put together. Please, people say traffic is traffic. Or they say I live on a cut-through street. But Wren Avenue, where I live, is a cul-de-sac. And we have approximately 1,200 children in a very small area. It's heartbreaking for me every day I see almost things happen. I also want you to consider the loss of life. Unfortunately, the 9-year-old via bus accident last week in O'Fallon, Missouri. We have to do something about the way people are driving and the buses are driving on Wren Avenue. They're passing on the double yellow lines, around the traffic that's sitting in queue, and cars are following them. And there's cars coming up from Southwest Middle. It's an accident waiting to happen. Think of our children, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Kendall Mayo. Okay, then no Kendall Mayo. All right, next up is Katie Sachaki. Okay, then next up is Wayne Hartman.
Wayne Hartman, Parkway resident. Can I get 3 minutes? I haven't started yet.
Yeah.
Okay. I have come and sat in on these school board meetings now for nearly 4 years. I and we the people have been introduced to many new teachers coming into the district and teachers that have moved from other schools within the district for being promoted, etc. I have seen and heard some of the most amazing things that these students have done and created with their own minds. If you can think it, make it happen, and they have done just that. Now, between their parents and teachers, these students are excelling. Teachers can turn on the light in their heads academically and also on the field of play. As those students here tonight were recognized, I applaud you all. But sadly, there are teachers that subconsciously, when working with students in a way to influence the part of the mind which one is not fully aware. If you tell me that's not happening, you'll need to explain that to me. I often wondered what my father would think about what's going on today. 2 years ago, a news reporter interviewed a 98-year-old veteran wearing his Army jacket. When asked the question of what he thought about things today, he replied with tears running from his eyes. He said, "This is not what I fought for." I realized I had just got the answer of what my father would have thought and said. When we, the people, ask questions of this district, we, the people, simply want the honest truth. When an answer is given, a timeline begins. When I am told I was given a mischaracterization of actual events, that was the response I got back from the district. Nothing to clear that up. I'm tired of the miss and dis that parties like to say. It's not a miss and it's not a dis. It's a lie, period. When we, the people, ask for information, we expect the truth. It's not hard, and in the end, we'll all be better for it, for it's our children that are affected. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Next up is Tom Welker. He'll be followed by Clayton Christensen and Christy Heffley.
President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Marty, Ms. Stover, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. First, I'm in a kind of a state of awe at your statement. I had a number of things that I planned on speaking about, and I kind of had to rethink some things. It was a lot to digest, everything you just said, and there's still some questions lingering in your mind and from the members around me as to what did this mean, what did that mean. So I know we're not allowed to ask questions and expect answers, but I would certainly appreciate a moment of your time afterwards to maybe confirm some things as far as what we were thinking. But a few things I'd like to point out. As we've always stated, the members of the community in our group have always said the students in the community are on the forefront of what we want to do with the funds that we provided you. Yes, 77,000 people did vote for this, but the ECC was a fine print line in the bottom half of the ballot. And if I'm not mistaken, the location was never disclosed during the vote. Now, that may have been a communique through a documentation, a focus group or something like that later, but the community at large was never aware that the 63021, more specifically the Wren Hollow area, was the focus of where this building was going to go. And I think those are some of the things that I highlighted in my focus groups on the expectations of the incoming superintendent, is that members of the community don't always get these communications. Children and parents that have children in the schools hear a lot of this information, but for a long time, many of your own employees and administrators still thought this ECC was going to go in the woods on the cliff above the South High Field, across the street from Southwest. So I think the thing to take away from this is we need to find a better way of getting this communication out to the public when stuff like this is being considered, because quite honestly, $260 million of our money was given to you. And I think the expectation was, let's use it for the right reasons. And I'm not saying an ECC isn't the right reason, but what I'm saying is, and I think we've all agreed, that a lot of our buildings are in significant disarray. And the focus should be more on, and I'm hoping the 2050 group will be focusing on earmarking these funds to potentially replacing some of these schools. 50 plus, 60 plus year old schools, it's time. I think the newest school in the district was built in '96. So, in closing, I would ask, the 63021 was identified the most in need, but my concerns on that comment are Your own survey that was done in comprehensive form to support this bond ballot showed declines for that same area. And more importantly, public records through DESE over the last 4 years show a 20% decline in enrollment throughout the ECC for Parkway. So those are some things I'd like you to consider. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Clayton Christensen.
Hi, my name is Clayton Christensen, and I'm a sixth grader at Southwest Middle. When I was at Wren Hollow, we used to use that field a lot. We used it for extra recess, we used it during the eclipse, we used it for class time like reading and science. We used it for dyeing t-shirts too. This year, we're outside there a lot. We're out there for PE, all their activities. We're out there for orchestra. I went to Wren preschool in that little cabin when I was little. It was great. So it's not that I'm against a preschool. It's just, why are we putting it here? So it takes away all the green space for our two schools. Other schools have lots and lots of green space. It would leave us with nothing to use. We definitely couldn't use it when preschoolers are out there, and I think they're supposed to be there till 6 p.m. So when do middle schoolers get to use it? I also have a friend who I consider like a brother. His little brother is in a wheelchair, and if we take away this green space, then where does he get to experience playing games on green grass? Going down that hill with a wheelchair seems like a bad idea to me. I don't know how he could wheel himself down and up a steep hill. Southwest Middle has been a nice field in the back, and it's located on South Middle has a nice big field in the back, and it's located on 141. Might be better for traffic. Please consider these things.
Hi, I'm Christy Hafley. I have two boys at Wren. So some of my speech is going to be different based on what you shared. But I did want to talk about, I did a lot of research in the enrollment numbers because I get that they want to have a centralized early childhood center to share resources and stuff. But our elementary enrollments just declined by about 7.6% across the district in the last 6 years. And the south area is actually one of the hardest hit areas in terms of decline at over 10%. Oak Brook alone has lost 20% of its students since 2018. And so that was predicted by that Advent study that was done in 2019. So it's confirmation for them that the population in that area is going down. So it doesn't, I know we keep saying south area, but it doesn't really make sense to put it where the population continues to decline. We probably need to go someplace where there's less decline, which the north area is only going down by about 3% as opposed to every place else that was 10 or 12%. And the other thing that was really sticking out in the data was that, every meeting we've been to, we've heard these early childhood people say how heartbreaking it is to turn so many families away. But I couldn't understand why, when you look at the data post-COVID, their enrollment has gone down by 23%. So why are we turning more families away and not even filling our classrooms up to the capacity they were just a few years ago? If their enrollment continues to decline, they're not even going to have enough students to warrant having a new early childhood center. It just didn't make sense. So I just urge you to, as we look forward to where we're going to put this new center, make sure it's where it's going to be needed the most, because the numbers in the south area are just not supporting it right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Laura Freeborn. She'll be followed by Kristen Mayo and Melissa Rezak.
Hi there. Good evening. My name is Laura Freeborn, and I'm a former Southwest Middle and South High student. I live in the Audubon Woods area off of Big Bend Woods, and both my kids walk every day and or bike to school. I know as of recently, there's been several instances where people have reported back that the traffic has been heavy and they've had concerns that our kids were biking in groups of a multitude of people. I've even had a call from the vice principal saying there was concerns that my son was going to get hit by a car because everybody was driving too fast and they weren't staying where they need to be. So that's a little off topic, but my son's in 3rd grade at Wren. My daughter's now in 6th grade at Southwest, but while I'm against a new ECC, or while I'm not against a new ECC being built, I am opposed still to where the location has been suggested. And with the new information you provided tonight, I hope that, more information will be, light will shed on more information so we can hear kind of the traffic results study. But I'm a huge proponent of the ECC program. My family and I have had wonderful experiences with them and recognize how important early childhood learning is. Both my son and daughter attended the ECC speech programs from the age of 3 to 5 for severe speech impediment. My daughter's speech delay was so severe that she continued speech and actually benefited from the Hannah Woods program, which I'm a huge proponent of. So I have experience with taking your kid 3 and 4 times a week to the Early Childhood Center at the West High campus, and I know that it can be a track for some people, but I definitely urge you guys to look at the numbers and see where the biggest need is, because as Christy said, it's definitely declining in our area. But overall, I'm forever grateful for the teachers and staff that evaluated and identified and provided services for my children. I definitely want to see early childhood succeed. I'm opposed to the location, and I just am, in order to benefit some children in need at the expense of hundreds of other children's needs, I think that we need to take that into consideration. So the well-being, safety, education, mental health, and physical activity of all children should be taken into account, and there has to be a solution here to make sure all children are getting what they need. Please don't sacrifice my children's well-being for another. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Kristen Mayo.
Hi, I'm Kristen Mayo. I obviously had a whole speech written up and was trying to cut down on my time and everything. I am a parent of 4 children that attend Wren Hollow, Southwest Middle, South High. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Carmen Trails, and so speaking in front of the board brings me great stress because I don't like speaking out against things that the district was for, and I strongly oppose. It brings me some stress. But I wanted to say thank you for taking into consideration the things that you did, the traffic, the loss of the field, our children's safety, and hope that you continue to put them at the forefront of your decisions in the next steps in building an ECC or your short-term plans and your long-term plans. I wanted to just to say thank you tonight, so thank you.
And then next is Melissa Rezek.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I live on Cardinal Lane, which is 3 blocks from Wren. Obviously, same situation. I had quite a bit more to say, but I am taking a lot of that off. I do represent a lot of concerned parents that aren't able to come to a lot of these meetings due to kids' activities or just having to be home with their young children. I have a list of 823 to be exact if needed. There are many more out there with the same concerns, I'm sure of, other than us and the people that I know. Our children's safety and traffic concerns still exist by Wren and Southwest Middle School. I am happy to hear that you have decided not to build and come up with another solution to the early childhood center that would have been between Wren and Southwest. I just hope that also you guys can focus on some other issues like improving the existing parkway problems in our current buildings. I'm a full-time substitute. I've been subbing since before COVID. I've done general ed, I've done special school district. I currently just do special ed. And every Parkway school, I've been to Rockwood schools, everybody has their problems. But I've seen many that could be addressed and nipped in the bud pretty quick with some of the funds that we did get for those bond issues.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We do appreciate your feedback, as we hope everyone realizes. We take it seriously, and we can't make decisions on a split second. So it's taken us a little bit to sort through it, so we do appreciate everyone's comments tonight. Next, may I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of Education, scheduled for November 13th, 2024?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next regular board meeting will take place on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, beginning at 7 p.m. at the Parkway Welcome Center. Let's see, next up on our agenda, there are 2 director positions which are open in the Parkway Board of Education next spring, each for a 3-year term in the April 8th, 2025 election. The terms of Robert Reedy and Jeffrey Spector expire in April 2025. I have been informed by Mr. Spector, who couldn't be with us tonight, that he plans to run again. Mr. Reedy, do you have anything you'd like to share?
I do. I prepared a few comments. Starts with a song, though.
Okay.
The long and winding road. Great Beatles song. I was reflecting on that earlier today as I was thinking about the board meeting tonight. And I was thinking about how anything important, it always is a winding road. You know, it's rarely linear. It's rarely from point A to point B. Whether that's parenting or a marriage or a business, really anything. And
Or the ECC Center.
Or the ECC Center. Certainly the case for the work we do on the school board and the work of governance. And it's really good work indeed. And you know, we were interviewing a superintendent candidate the other night, and I told the person, I said, I think Parkway, best district in the state, for lots of reasons. You know, the way the district's structured, the way that there's diversity of socioeconomic and race and geography. It's not a small district. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of excellence wherever I look. You know, whenever we give these reports, and I know this is a special report, I'm speaking about something in particular, but, you know, just for the board reports, mine are always sort of light on content and heavy on sentiment. And that's because I'm just always in awe of the district. You know, I love the students, I love the staff, I love seeing all the hard work that's being done for teaching and learning. And of course, that'll never change. I have young kids who are still in the district. I have older children who have graduated. But because of personal dynamics in my life and different work responsibilities that I've had to take on recently, I have made the decision to not run again. But the good work will go on. I realize that, as I've already alluded to, we're working together collectively to find a new superintendent to continue the great legacy that Dr. Marty has created and left the very, very big shoes to fill. You know, I know everybody, the new person who's brought in, the new person that's elected will work on the same things that we've been working on, you know, the sort of closing the gap, the academic gap in the affected students versus the majority, trying to decrease the absenteeism. A lot of that has sprung up through COVID. And just continuing to create kids who are great students, care for one another, graduate, and become great citizens. So that's my answer, Mr. Todd. But it is begrudging that I give that answer because it is bittersweet and I will miss the work of the board.
And we will miss you. Thank you. With that said, filing for the Board of Education election will begin on Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 at 8 a.m. And continue through Tuesday, December 31st, 2024 at 5 p.m. Candidates must file in person at the St. Louis County Board of Elections, 725 Northwest Plaza Drive, St. Anne, Missouri, 63074. No filing will take place at the district office. Candidates may file between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Filing ends at 5 p.m. on the last day of candidate filing only. The Board of Election office will be closed on December 25th and may also close due to inclement weather. For the first day of filing, a random lottery drawing will be conducted to determine ballot placement. Candidates who file after the first day will be listed in order of filing. If you have any questions regarding candidate filing, please contact Nikki Stover at 314-415-8002 or nstover@parkwayschools.net or the St. Louis County Board of Elections at 314-615-1851. Next, we'll go back to board superintendent reports. Matt?
All right, I'll admit you stole some of my thunder. I was going to be a cheerleader tonight a little bit, just because it's been a very busy time. I've been around these guys way too much the past few weeks. But just in the past month, going to the Missouri School Board Association Conference in Kansas City, meeting a lot of the candidates for superintendent's role, and one of the questions they usually ask us is been a fun one to hear what the other board members say in terms of what are we proud about with Parkway. And just going to other districts, hearing about what their problems are in Kansas City for the conference, hearing what the board members say about Parkway and why they're proud of it. There's a lot of positive things, and even just tonight, all the kids coming up here, the recognitions, the public comments, been civil. We do a great job as a community coming together and working on issues that are difficult and we have conflict about. The kids are doing a great job. We have great teachers, administration, staff, and I'll even praise the board too, because the board does play an important role in terms of setting the tone for who we hire and then when they come in and what experiences they're going to have as a new superintendent. So just want to do a nice cheerleading yay for Parkway and thank my board members.
Yeah, well, I've already said a lot, but I'll just comment on earlier this evening, the administration was kind enough to put together something really thoughtful, and that was a student-led focus group where tonight's subject was the role of schools, the role of phones in schools. And that's a very evolving subject, and I know it's been debated and it's different from district to district, but it is something we're giving a lot of attention to. And I think there'll probably be some changes to the school district policy in the coming year as we work towards whatever data set that we ultimately arrive at. But the thing that struck me is to hear the kids talking, they were talking about like, well, this and that, and we're used to having phones, and I was thinking, wow, when I was a student, that sounds like a very old man thing to say, but I remember when I was a student, on your bus pass, there'd be like a little S, and that meant you were allowed to go outside and smoke, so things do change. Like, just because you're able to do something this year, maybe you won't next year, and it could be for your betterment.
That was a good change that they removed that. I'm going to keep it short this evening because, as Matt did allude to, we had a very busy 2 weeks with searching for our next superintendent. And as Rob has mentioned, who will have very big shoes to fill with the leaving of Dr. Marty. So, I'll ditto what Rob said about the student advisory committee that came this evening. Great group of kids. I had an opportunity to talk to several of them. Some of them were like my son's age, and I'm talking about my 7th grader. And I'm like, how are they so different? I don't see my son being as aware of the cell phone negative impacts to not just students, but to adults as well. And I think that a lot of the things that they mentioned are things that we should, as everybody that has a cell phone should kind of keep in mind and limit our use as much as possible. Because when I think about my cell phone, I use it for everything. It manages my life. I couldn't go grocery shopping without it. So that's it. Sorry, I went a little longer than I said.
So Monday was Veterans Day, and back when Rob was in high school and everybody was smoking, and even when I was in high school, schools were off on Veterans Day and kids had the day off. At some point in between then and now, somebody came to the decision that rather than taking the day off to play video games or look at your cell phone, better to go to school and learn about why we celebrate the day to begin with. And so district-wide on Veterans Day, all the buildings have little programs, and I attended the Northeast Middle School program, which was great. They invite veterans or family members or in the community to come. The band plays all the songs for each branch of the service. My son actually played trumpet, and it was really cool to listen to him play the Marine song. My grandfather was a Marine, and I sent the video to all my relatives. But anyway, it's a really great thing we do to honor veterans, and rather than just taking the day off, to actually embrace them in the community. I know it means a lot to those individuals that are there, and I was at the Northeast one, but I know a lot of people in this room attended the ceremonies at different schools, and it's a really good thing that Parkway does, and it's something we can all be proud of. As my colleagues mentioned, the last couple of weeks have been very heavy on the superintendent search. I have spent more time with Matt Schindler than my children over the last couple of days, which is, I haven't heard any complaints from anyone, actually, but I am confident this district's in good hands in a lot of different ways. I also want to thank, we outsource the process in part to a search committee, but that doesn't lessen the burden on some of our internal folks. I know Nikki, Mike, Elisa, as well as lots of other individuals have done a lot of work to assist in the search, and I want to thank everyone for their contributions to what I'm optimistic will be a very good process and a good outcome. I'd tell you more, but we all signed non-disclosure agreements. And finally, as for Rob, I really enjoyed your comments there. I really enjoyed serving with you. Although you were elected 3 years ago, it seems like it was only yesterday.
However, one of the things we are proud of is our all-district choir concert, which I did have the pleasure of presenting the welcome and opening remarks. So that was a lot of fun. It was a little bit different this year in that it was held at the Family Arena instead of Queenie Park. And we also included this year the fifth graders in addition to the middle school students and the high school students. So it was so cool because we had 3 conductors, we had guest conductors, guest accompanists, and just to see that many kids, I understood that there was like 750 kids, students in attendance, so doing that, which is just amazing. So to see that many students together singing, they each did their own thing, and then together, it was breathtaking, and just made me very proud of Parkway. The other thing that I've done, a lot of planning stuff. We met with faith leaders. We have met with our contracted union groups to start some of the processes of contract negotiations, doing our interest-based bargaining training, which we went through yesterday for new individuals who haven't been through these processes before. The superintendent search activities, and then I'm also on the planning committee for the St. Louis County School Boards, PLC, which our meeting for board members is here on December 7th, so I've been actively involved in preparing and planning that meeting as well. So, yeah, lots of time in Parkway right now, but it's all for very good reasons and very good causes, so that's it.
Thank you. Despite sitting here for 6 or 7 minutes, I can't come up with a way to tie in a yellow submarine, so. Anyway, I guess I've had a boring last few weeks. But no, we've had, as has been mentioned, we've had a pretty busy time since the last board meeting, and it seems like it will continue for the foreseeable future here the next few weeks anyway. In addition to all the things that have already been mentioned, I'll touch also on the Veterans Day ceremonies in our schools. I typically go to Barrett's Elementary because it's the closest school to my office. I wasn't able to get by there this year, but I happened to drive by on my way back from a meeting, and I saw cars lined up and down the street like they typically are, and I got back to my office and pulled up my computer, and lo and behold, they were live streaming it. So I sat there doing work and got to enjoy the ceremony, at least part of it anyway. So kudos to our schools that are taking technology to the next level. And then this past Saturday night, Dr. Marty and I were privileged to attend the Parkway Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It's something we only do every couple years. This year there was more than a dozen outstanding, amazing people who graduated from Parkway who were inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I sat there and thought how little I do or have done in my life compared to some of these individuals and the impacts they're making on other people. So it made me proud to be a Parkway alumni, and always great to hear about what our graduates are doing. So that's about all I got.
Don't sell yourself short there, Mr. Todd. I just want to just thank Rob for your service. I know we'll be going out together in a sense, but thanks for your service. And but I appreciate, Rob, your work, and we got several more months, so it's not like we're going wrong. I just want to also comment on Veterans Day. I had the privilege of being in a couple of schools, of being at West Middle School, and was asked to be the speaker, and it was just wonderful. Adam Keelan and his staff did a wonderful job. And from a personal note, I have 3 sons who served, 2 in the Marines and 1 in the Navy, and they have children old enough that they were in their children's schools on Monday, and it was neat to have them talk about the fact that they went with their children to be honored in their schools in the Chicago area and the Minneapolis area. So, but as was mentioned, I'm very, very proud of Parkway and the time we take. And I think in what I've heard and what I saw, just amazing amount of veterans that came out and were honored. And I think they also were very, very proud to be part of that. So I'm so pleased that we do that. I think it's an important part of our responsibility to teach about history, because there's a lot of history to learn about Armistice Day, growing into Veterans Day and all that. I could go on. So talk a lot of history here, but I won't do that. But it was just wonderful. I also agree with Jeff. Saturday night was wonderful. The Parkway Alumni Association, we can be very, very proud of the fact that we have so many people who leave us and then go into wonderful work, but they can always come back and relate about maybe a teacher, a coach, an incident that happened in our schools that led them to really take a course in a career that, so we're very, very, we heard so many names of, and I know Jeff probably knows some of these teachers more than I do, but just, people going back to the 70s, 80s, and more recent that have done very, very well. I do want to comment, Debbie, talk about, we had a meeting with our faith leaders, well attended. We've kind of changed the focus from, in trying to broaden and really partner with our faith leaders who, in many respects, are really reinforcing a lot of the work that we're doing. I mean, we're all in this together in the community to raise the quality of life. And while we have different people with different backgrounds, we came together, and I think it was a really good meeting. Also talking about cell phone use as we're trying to gather information. A lot of us attended, a number of us attended the MSBA conference, as was mentioned, in Kansas City, and I really appreciate board members who take the time to do that. I think it's a good learning opportunity and a good opportunity for us to learn about what's going on in the state as a whole. I think that a lot was covered here. I do encourage us to, I think there's maybe one more craft fair to still take place, I think at South, but we had the craft fairs that have been well attended. And we're wrapping up fall sports, and we're into winter sports, and so we're wrapping up one season, but we had a lot of success and a lot to be proud of in this past fall. And I, too, want to comment, tonight's student advisory was just wonderful. Our students, as was mentioned, just really gave us a lot to be proud of, and the feedback, I think, will be very useful to the ongoing work of our committee. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. We already touched on it a little bit, but next up on our agenda, so I have to officially read it. The Board of Education has begun screening and initial interviews with candidates for the Parkway Superintendent role. The board remains committed to naming a new superintendent by mid-December. And I'll just add just a personal comment that over the last couple of weeks, the board has reviewed lots of different applications. We've begun the interview process, and there are a lot of really amazing people out there who want to be here in Parkway. Some that were local, many that were out of town, even out of the contiguous United States. But it's really impressive to see the number of people that really have a desire to be here leading our district. So we're excited about the future and hope to share that information with you soon. Next up is our consent agenda. We've had an opportunity to review that. So may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in the November 13th, 2024 board materials?
So moved.
Second.
Anything to be pulled to action or closed? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Next up, we have the approval of our audit and financial statements for June 30th, 2024. So I'd like to invite Carrie Nunn, our CFO, and Don Trokey, Executive Director of Finance, and Brian Wirtz from Kerber, Eck and Brakel, LLP, to join us.
Thank you and good evening. Before I hand it over to Brian here from KEB, I wanted to take a moment to just say that this is a time for our finance team to really shine. When we get an audit report like this, because they are the team that they're, as Dawn will tell you too, they are a very hardworking team. And they are the ones that are every day making sure that we are following our financial policies, checking those account codes, making sure that all the boxes are checked. And it's not necessarily a fun job because a lot of people just are like, why can't we just push this through? Why can't you just get this paid? And it's because of things like this, like getting a clean audit report. And so I just wanted to take a moment to just say how proud I am of our finance team and how hard they work day in, day out, and what a good team they are. And they are a group of people that you as a board and us as a district can be very proud of. So on that note, I will happily turn it over to Brian to share with you our audit.
Do we have the PowerPoint?
Yes. Oh, these clicker. You should right here.
Okay.
Okay. So it's going to be this button right here. There we go.
That switches it as well? Or just here?
Just that
Okay. Let's start with. Hello?
Here, I'll just assist.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Brian Wirtz. I'm a partner with Kerber, Eck and Brakel, and we are the independent auditors for the district. I appreciate you let us have the time to come and talk about the audit. When I walked into the room, I'm like, holy cow, look at all these people here to hear my report about the audit. And I suspect they got tired of waiting. But we're going to do it anyway. So just to give you an idea of what we're presenting here tonight, there's two reports. There's the annual comprehensive financial report that's well over 100 pages. A lot of information in there. I'll go through a little bit of it. And then there's the federal and state reporting package. In the annual financial report, there is a ASBO Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting, which the district submits the report to ASBO to have them review it, and they give, their comments about things that you can improve on, and as long as anything's not crazy out of whack, they give this Certificate of Excellence reporting. And as long as I've been auditing the district, they've been getting that, and I think the district should be very proud of that. It's not an easy thing to get through, and so you should be proud of that. In the report, there's a lot of information, some audited, some unaudited information. So obviously, there's the independent auditor report, which talks about what each other's responsibilities are, and we'll talk about that a little bit. There's the management's discussion and analysis, which is unaudited, and that's narrative informed, so therefore that's why it's unaudited. There's some financial information in there, but it discusses what happened with the current year finances and what the district looks for in the future. And then there's the government-wide financial statements that are prepared on the accrual basis of accounting, full accrual basis of accounting, much like a for-profit entity. And then the fund financial statements, which are prepared on the modified accrual basis of accounting. And then there's a reconciliation between the two, which is basically the differences between fixed assets and debt, how they're accounted for between the two financial statements. There's a proprietary fund, which is used to account for the self-insurance of the district. And then there is the notes to the financial statements, which are pretty detailed, pretty significant. Required supplemental information, which includes budget to actual for the general and teachers funds. Then there's certain pension disclosures that are required in that information as well. Then there's supplementary information, which gives us the budget and actual information for the budget or the capital projects and debt service fund. And then there's some statistical information that is just required for the annual comprehensive financial report. If you look at the audit opinion, it talks about, like I said, what each of our responsibilities are. And it's management's responsibility for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. determine that the basis used is appropriate and acceptable, and to design and implement and maintain internal controls in the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements so that there's not a material misstatement in the financial statements. And then they also, this is sort of new, but we both have to determine if the district is a going concern, that it will be around a year later from when the financial statements are issued. Our responsibility then is to provide the audit and provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are not materially misstated. And we say reasonable assurance, a high level of assurance, but it's not absolute because we don't review 100% of the transactions. There is a risk that a material misstatement could go undetected just because of the sampling that we do. And that risk is higher if the material misstatement is related to fraud or override of controls or collusion. So the risk becomes higher if that's going on. In performing the audit, we have to exercise professional judgment, identify and assess risk where we think where are the risks that a material misstatement could happen, obtain an understanding of the internal controls of the district, but not to give an opinion on the internal controls. That's outside the scope of an audit. Evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting principles used, and there are significant estimates in these financial statements, and we have to determine if those estimates are reasonable. In developing our audit procedures, we have to determine, like I said, where the risks are, where there could be fraud. As it relates to fraud, we ask employees within the district if they're aware of any fraud. If they are, what would they do or who would they report it to? We usually ask a board member the same types of questions. But we're not required to develop audit procedures that would audit for fraud. So if something came to our attention, we'd have to expand our procedures, but we don't have to develop procedures to try to find it. The most significant internal controls that we review in our audit are the revenue cycle, the expenditure cycle, payroll cycle, and financial reporting. And then we also review the internal controls of federal programs as they relate to federal grants. So with that, there are 3 types of opinion that can be issued. We issued an unmodified opinion. We're still on the first slide, I think. I'm sorry. Unmodified opinion, which basically is stating that based on our audit procedures, that we feel that the financial statements are not materially misstated. Now we'll go to the next one. Deficiencies. So if there are, in the course of our audit, if we identify any internal control deficiencies, there's 3 types of internal control deficiencies. The first one is just a internal control deficiency that is like a insignificant internal control, what we might report orally to the district or management because it's not that significant. Then the next one is a significant deficiency. A significant deficiency would have to be included in our report with a response from management. And then a significant deficiency that's a material weakness would be a deficiency that's so high that it's reasonable that a material misstatement could go undetected in the financial statements. And that, again, would have to be reported in our report with reports or responses from management, how they're going to address those risks. We're happy to report that we had no material weaknesses noted, and also we had no noncompliance noted as it relates to compliance with federal programs. The federal programs that we tested this year as major programs were Title A, Part A, and Title II, Part A, and the Child Nutrition Cluster. We issued an unmodified opinion on those programs as well and had no material weaknesses noted as it relates to the major federal programs, and no findings as it relates to uniform guidance. Included in this federal and state reporting package is certain state compliance that we have to look at as far as budgetary and disbursement procedures, accurate disclosure of attendance records, and accurate disclosure of transportation records. That part of the audit is performed in accordance with attestation standards established by the AICPA, and we gave an unmodified opinion on those procedures as well. Professional standards require that we communicate, amongst the other things that we just talked about, some of the other information. So the significant accounting policies used to prepare the financial statements are Note A. We talked about the basis of accounting for the two types of financial statements. We talked a little bit about the significant estimates. The most significant estimates in these financial statements relate to the net pension liability and the OPEB liability. And those are really done through actuarial valuations. And the district is required to report its proportionate share of the under-accrual on the PSRS and the peers retirement obligations. And that's on the full accrual financial statements. There were no transactions that lacked authoritative guidance or consensus. The financial statement disclosures are neutral, clear, and consistent, other than the pension ones, because they're about 10 pages and they're pretty complicated to follow. We encountered no difficulties in performing the audit, and we had no disagreements with management. When you look at an audit, every audit has to, by professional standards, we have to look at risk differently for every entity that we audit. The two risks that are in every audit are improper revenue recognition and management override of controls. So we have to prepare procedures for those two types of risk. We have complied with all ethical requirements regarding independence, so we're independent with the district. There were no financial statements detected as a result for audit, meaning that we did not have an audit adjustment to the financial statements for them to be in accordance with GAAP. We obtained a written representation letter from management upon the approval of the audit, which is dated October the 31st, which is the same date as our audit opinion. So what that date, the significance of that date is if there's a subsequent event that happens between June 30th and that date, before we issue the reports, we would have to determine if there's a disclosure or a financial statement adjustment that may need to be made, if there's an additional accrual or something. Anything that happens after that date, we're not required to review as it relates to this audit. The financial statements are complete and accurate. All material information has been disclosed to us. Management has disclosed all financial information that we asked for. And if management had any consultations with any other accountants that we became aware of, we'd have to disclose that to you, and we're not aware of any. We would like to express our appreciation for Dawn and Carrie for their help throughout the audit and their entire staff. We've been doing this for a while, so we kind of have a pretty good thing going and get it done. What were we out for, maybe a week? I think we spend some time back at the office, some time out here. But we appreciate their help. The next slide is just the team that sort of, from after me to the right, they did all the work, and then I just look good. So that's it. That's my report. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't have any questions, but I will say, although we're not in the trenches of dealing with the audit, I find it odd that we always, at least I always look forward to an audit report because it's always so good, which is obviously a testament to Carrie and Dawn and all the people that you work with, doing such a great job of keeping us on the straight and narrow, and we really do appreciate all your hard work. So, and thanks to you, Brian, and your team.
Happy to do it.
I think, Mr. Todd, you're absolutely right. I think one of the things that our community can be assured of is that since I've been here, and we've really been, every year we have these wonderful reports. And I was always told that when you're a superintendent, you can have a lot of issues, but if the community doesn't, you don't have a good auditor, your community doesn't trust you financially, that's going to mean a lot in terms of being able to pass bonds or being able to do a number of things. So I believe, and Carrie and Dawn and others over the years have really done a wonderful job to make sure that the community can trust us and we can trust what's going on as administrators and staff. So thank you, and thank you for continually working with us.
I believe there was a Beatles song about financial accuracy.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
With all that said, may I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approve the 2023-2024 audited financial statements as presented in the November 13th, 2024 board meeting materials?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Tonight, we have no policy review, no reports. However, we do have a work session. So, Dawn, you're back up, just like that. We have a targeted program evaluation of our purchasing and finance department. And Dawn, take it away.
All right, well, thank you so much for having us tonight. I'm not going to do all the speaking. Sophie Settles is our new purchasing manager, and so she has developed these slides and this targeted evaluation information, and she'll share that with you tonight.
You got it? Well, we'll see.
Welcome.
Let's see. Oh, wrong way. Well, that was weird. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Don. Again, my name is Sophie Settles. I'm the purchasing manager here for Parkway. I am new. I've been here since May, I think. I tend to forget sometimes, but you know, hey, I'm here. So again, thank you. Is Don's our great lead for our purchasing department. Meet the rest of my team with Karen Shannon, she's our purchasing lead, and Terry Visner is our purchasing and budget specialist. We have a great team, by the way. All right, if you, I would like you to pay attention or give attention to the left-hand side. I would like to briefly go over our purchasing process. So basically, anything over $1,000, the purchasing department processes, right? But it goes a little bit more into detail. So anything $1,000 and $3,500 does not need a bidding process. They just enter a rec into our Munis system, a requisition into our Munis system. Anything over $3,500, we do have to submit out for bid. It's a 4 to 6 week process, we like to think. Sometimes it can take longer. Sometimes it can be shorter. It just depends on the nature of the purchase. And a little bit further, anything over $50,000, it still goes out for bid, but it requires board approval. So let's see if it works. So a little arrow points to the focus for this evening, and all requisitions are entered into a Munis software. So this is the part that our target evaluation is going to be on. Munis, okay? Munis, as stated, it's the Enterprise Resource Planning Software, ERP. It's designed to help manage core business processes, such as our financial, and it acts as a central focus for our external purchases. Within Munis, it's a multi-layer approval process. So we would like to dive into this approval process. And if you pay attention over to the right-hand side, those are seven approval levels. Depending on the nature of the purchase, sometimes it can be more approval levels. And can be multiple people inside each level that need to see the purchase, review it, and approve it. But at the end, it still comes back to the purchasing department for final approval, and that's when a purchase order is converted. And with those levels on the side, those approval levels and who touches the purchases, it can be driven by dollar amount. It could be driven by department, depending on what department entered the purchase, and also what financial code is entered for the purchase. So some questions that, some driving questions that we have are the approval levels following policy? You know, we want to always make sure we follow policy in anything that we do. It's high priority. What codes and threshold levels direct the approvals and why? Are we duplicating work for our staff, you know, within our staff? Because it's one thing we don't want to do. Duplication, time is money. You know, you get the point. And do approvals understand their responsibilities? And this can be experienced approvals as well as new. You know, we tend to get lost in our work, and we just want to do the work and really don't understand our responsibilities, and which can aid in duplicate work for multiple staff members. And how we're going to attack these strategies, we're going to analyze the purchasing policy, again, high priority. We're going to work with the technology department in understanding how the approval table is set up. And is it set up to where we're efficient, you know, as a team? And also with working with technology, we're going to have technology who has already agreed, thank you, to give us all levels, all approval levels. We are asking them to give us a report on each individual in the approval level. And we're going to randomly select individuals from the approval level and ask them to complete a survey. And this survey is going to help us gain insights to the actual steps followed by approvers. And then this, you know, we hope to see what if the correct prompts are in place in directing to each approval level, and just making sure all stakeholders in each level are involved. So our timeline, our strategy here. By December, we're going to start working on the evaluation strategies, reviewing policies, getting with technology, and creating a survey. In January, we're going to collect, review, and organize the data. And this is going to help us streamline processes. Munis actually does that for us, but we're going to see if we can, you know, go an extra step with streamline processing, which can also help us eliminate duplication of work. And also with the organization of the data and reviewing the data, it will help us clarify each approver's duties and enforce accountability. So, you know, with this, we're able to see what should you be approving? You know, should this go to your level for approval? You know, kind of things like that. February, we're going to summarize the findings and create recommendations. In March, we're going to share the findings and recommendations to the Board of Education for approval. But our end goal is just to be more efficient, right? And to have continued growth within our district. And any questions?
I would just ask you, mentioned who touches certain types of purchases. Could, in your review, could you also put together some type of organizational chart that outlines all those individuals and how those decisions are made, who has access to what? Just to help us better understand it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Could you just clarify a little bit who you're going to survey? Is it going to be the people, your customers, basically, other administrators? And
So yeah, other administrators who will actually enter in, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very good.
Does Bonfire get included in any of this evaluation process here in the targeted part?
So no, but
Okay.
you know, Bonfire is our bidding portal for anyone who did not know that. But no.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll look forward to hearing from you in March. Okay. We have one addition, which is a motion to add legal to our closed session. I may have a motion and a second that the Board of Education amend the previous motion for closed session to add 1, legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving the district and any confidential or privileged communication between the district or its representatives and its attorneys, 610.021.1, to the closed session taking place following the regular meeting on November 13th, 2024.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nikki.
Mrs. Hopper?
Yes.
Ms. Matt Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Reedy?
Yes.
Mr. Schindler?
Yes.
Mr. Seltzer?
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Next, we will proceed to adjourn our regular meeting and retire to closed session. So thank you all for attending.